Hello everyone, and thank you for watching. I'm your host, Russ LeBlanc. In this video, I'm going to be discussing some changes to Article 404 and 406, and also going to be looking at a new definition proposed for 2026. All right, let's start off with that definition. The definition proposed is wiring device. What is a wiring device? It's an electrical device with a yoke, or it could be used with a flexible cord or a flexible cable that serves as either a connection point to facilitate the flow of current or as a control device in general distribution and branch circuits. And there's an important informational note that was added to help us all understand exactly what a wiring device might be. Informational note: examples of wiring devices include attachment plugs, receptacles, general use snap switches, pendant switches, surface switches, dimmers, and electronic control switches, and other lighting control switches. So that's not necessarily an all-inclusive list of wiring devices, but those are certainly wiring devices. Let's take a look at some of them. Here's some attachment plugs. These are a type of wiring devices, or they are a wiring device, excuse me, and these are covered by Article 406 in the 2023 code. Receptacles, like this duplex receptacle, is a type of a wiring device covered by 406 in the 2023 code. Now, general use snap switches, like you see in the graphic here, these are covered by Article 404 in 2023. These are also a type of wiring device. And this lighting control switch typically gets installed in a door jamb, and the way I've seen them used is typically for a closet light. And again, this gets installed in a door jamb, so as you open the door, the switch opens and closes, right? Or when you open the door, the switch closes, turns the light on, and then when you open the door, the switch opens and shuts the light off. This is a wiring device covered by 404 in 2023, because it's a type of switch. It was covered by Article 404. Electronic control switches like this. Timer is, again, another example of a wiring device covered by 404 in the 2023. Dimmer switches like these slide type dimmers, covered by 404 in 2023. Now, general use switches, right? These are not snap switches, but they're general use switches. These are covered by 404 in the 2023 code. These are not wiring devices as proposed in that new definition, right? This is not a wiring device. Molded case switches, like you see in the graphic, covered by Article 404, not wiring devices. Now let's take a look at the scope of 404 and also 406. All right, here's what 404 covered for 2023. 404.1. This article covers all switches, switching devices and circuit breakers used as switches operating at 1,000 volts and below. And that voltage, it didn't matter if it was AC or DC. It's just 1,000 volts, AC or DC, unless specifically referenced elsewhere in this code for higher voltages. This article does not cover wireless control equipment to which circuit conductors are not connected, and it would include snap switches, right? It does include general use snap switches as well. Now let's see what's proposed for 2026. Some significant changes proposed here. All right, this is what's proposed to be covered for 2026. This article covers the installation of general use switches, motor circuit switches, isolating switches, pull-out switches, still circuit breakers used as switches, and molded case switches operating at voltages not over, they split the voltages up, 1,000 volts AC and all the way up to 1,500 volts DC nominal. So now there is a specific list of which switches are covered, and the voltages have been separated into AC and DC. It does not include snap switches. Does not include snap switches anymore. So general use switches, like on the graphic here, these will still be covered by Article 404 in 2026. And motor circuit switches are still going to be covered by Article 404 in 2026. Isolating switches. Isolating switches are not intended to be opened under load, so you shut the power off somewhere else, like at a circuit breaker, for example, and then you can come and open up the isolating switch. Again, not under load, and now the power is disconnected and you can lock out and tag out the isolating switch. These are covered by 404 in both 2023 and in 2026. Pull-out switches, these are specifically mentioned now in 404. These will be covered by 404 for 2026. And circuit breakers used as switches, these will still be covered by 404 in 2026. Now, if you look at the circuit breakers, if you look in the white portion, the white and black lettering, you'll see some markings there. And one of the markings you'll see is SWD. So these are switch rated or switch duty rated. So you can use these to turn on and off lights every day as if it was a wall switch. And that's how I've seen them used for like a store, for example. In the morning, the employees would come in and just flip on the circuit breakers for the lights. Bing, 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 bing. Turn all the circuit breakers on the panel. All the lights in the store stay on all day. And then when the employees leave, they shut off all the circuit breakers just as if they were wall switches. And that's fine because these circuit breakers are rated for that kind of use, switch rated. These are covered by 404. Molded case switches will still be covered by Article 404 in 2026. And these essentially are, they look like a circuit breaker, but it might be the body of a circuit breaker, but there's no tripping mechanism. It doesn't automatically trip. It's just a switch. There's no overcurrent protection incorporated into this switch. What's not going to be covered in 2026? It does not cover the installation of the following. Wireless control equipment still is not going to cover that if there's no circuit conductors connected to it. And then wiring devices. Wiring devices, and there was a whole bunch of wiring devices that I showed you, including snap switches and dimmers, right? Those will no longer be covered by 404. All right, here's some wireless switches. This is a self-powered switch. There's no battery, there's no circuit wires. It's self-powered, and you tap it and it sends a signal to the receiver, and that can control the lights wirelessly. That's pretty cool. Here's another wireless switch. It's a battery-powered switch, and that sends an RF signal to a relay. So the wireless switch with no circuit conductors connected to it, not covered by 404. These are permitted to control lights. There's some provisions in 210. I'm pretty sure it's 210.70 does make mention of battery-powered switches. So you can use these types of devices. They're just not covered by 404 any longer. Or actually, they never were anyways because there's no circuit wires connected to them. And they still won't be covered. Now, general use snap switches like this, these will no longer be covered by 404. And that's going to include dimmer switches, electronic switches, that door jamb switch I showed you. These are wiring devices. These will no longer be covered by 404. They're going to be covered by another article, and we're going to show you that in a second. So in 2023, this is what was covered by Article 406. And the title was Receptacles, Cord Connectors, and Attachment Plugs, or CAPS. For 2026, some major revisions happen here as well as 404. This is what 406 is going to cover for 2026. Wiring devices. Wiring devices. That new definition, and we're going to get rid of the other wording. And the scope is also going to be revised to align with this new definition. So going forward, the scope of 406.1 is going to cover this. The article covers the rating, type, and installation of wiring devices. It previously said it covered the rating, type, and installation of receptacles, cord connectors, and attachment plugs or cord caps. But that wording goes away and gets swapped for wiring devices because all those things are wiring devices anyways under this new definition. So switches like this, which are wiring devices, these will be covered by Article 406 going forward. And dimmer switches like this will now be covered by 406 instead of 404 going forward. That's an electronic switch, actually. And then dimmer switches. Receptacles. will still be covered by 406. So all of those wiring devices will now be covered by 406. Even all those switches, all those snap switches, electronic switches, and dimmer switches, which previously were covered by 404, will now be relocated into 406. Again, the scope of 406 is going to be this. The article covers the rating, type, and installation of wiring devices. Now, where are these switches going to fall within this article? Part 1 is going to cover general requirements for all wiring devices, including switches and receptacles. Part 2 is only going to apply to receptacles, cord connectors, and attachment plugs. And then Part 3 will cover the snap switches. General use snap switches and electronic switches will be covered by Part 3. So essentially what's going to happen is all of the information and requirements covering those wiring devices, general use snap switches and electronic switches, which was previously in Article 404, is going to be moved over to Article 406. Now you might be asking yourself, why? Why relocate these requirements? Well, it kind of makes sense if you think about it, right? Based on the way the devices are made and installed, that snap switch in the middle probably has a lot more in common with the duplex receptacle on the left end than the general use switch on the other end. So it makes sense that we move the requirements for those types of devices, which are very similar in nature, to be in the same article. So that's what's going to happen. It's kind of logical if you think about it, right? So 406 will cover wiring devices, including the duplex receptacle, snap switches, and the other electronic switches. And Article 404 is going to cover other types of switches, not snap switches, if you will. Switches that don't have a yoke, like the general use switch you see, which is more like a disconnect type of switch. So it kind of makes sense if you think about it. Thank you for watching. And if you like this video, give us a like, 2 likes even. And subscribe too, so I can keep providing you content like this and some even cooler stuff. I'm going to keep pumping out videos on the 2026 changes, so keep your eye out for the next one. And as always, if you want any more information about me or any other stuff electrical related, check out my website, russellblank.net. I will see you in the next video.